Hello everyone, happy you could be here. Let's dive in. Sit at My Grave, Season 3, Ego's Death, Chapter 1. Cold wind blew through emptying treetops. The harsh whistling was accompanied by the screams of nocturnal predators in the distance, circling in on its unsuspecting prey. As determined as the steps forward were, the little sounds of rustling, creatures hiding around, always caused for a pause, just to ensure they were alone. This path wasn't unfamiliar, yet it was never easy traveling it. Most visits there held a certain desperation, a lamenting sorrow. Somehow, in that moment, the pain didn't feel as heavy in his heart. The guilt that had been plaguing his mind finally felt like it had a crack in it, bits of optimism shining through. Eyes were closed briefly. A shaky breath was taken in before it was gently released back out, the warm puff of air mingling with the contrast of chill. With some hesitation, he carefully lowered himself down, leaves and twigs crunching under his weight. With one more glance around, finally his dark eyes zeroed in on its main focus for traveling there. A deliberate hand stretched out, cleaning the area best as it could, moving any debris that had collected there. It faltered for a moment, halting the movements, taking time to just examine the spot. Soon, he drew it back, before returning with a less sure hand, placing fresh flowers down. Yellow dahlias, one black flower at its center. He neatened the small bouquet there as best as he could. With gentle movements, he leaned back, rubbed his hands together, as if to gain his strength while he had a staring match with the cold headstone in front of him. "Hey, Reed. It's Artie." Soft words murmured past Arden's lips. He stared for a moment, slow blinks, before fastening his coat on himself. He didn't expect any words back, or rather, he shouldn't, but sometimes he still found himself waiting on a response. He soon lost that false hope again and continued his speech. "I haven't been that good at filling in for you," Arden started. He closed his eyes briefly with a sigh. "But a promise is a promise. I've already packed up to leave. It won't be long before we see each other again," Arden announced. His mouth quirked up with a strange smile at the thought. "I'm sure you're just waiting to taunt me about how bad I messed up." Arden gasped out an airy attempt at a laugh. He didn't always love it, but hearing his brother joke around and tease him seemed a lot better than speaking to him through his grave. And even if Reed were to mock him for his shortcomings, as he should, Arden just hoped in some ways something he did would make his brother proud of him. "Well, I just wanted to talk to you before I left. I hope you like the flowers." Arden frowned, lightly chewing his lip. He didn't even know if his brother liked flowers. He helped Grandma Verna with her garden when he could, so he assumed he at least appreciated them somewhat. Besides, it was the respectful thing to do. Arden stood up and turned to leave, digging his hands in his pockets. He clicked on some music on his way back. It was bittersweet listening to his brother's band, but he'd been doing it more often now. Hearing his voice made him feel closer to him. He could close his eyes and pretend he was still there. Hearing the rough recordings Reed had, just himself playing and singing, were even better. Nothing mixed or polished. It gave Arden nostalgia to listen to Reed practice in his room when they were younger. As he neared his grandmother's house, Arden found himself taking his time gazing at the little things that made up his town. He would never have thought of himself to be a sentimental person normally, but recent events had brought that out. The cracked pavement he walked on wasn't glamorous. The street lights that flickered weren't great, but they were recognizable. Arden felt his life had been changing so quickly it was hard to keep up with. In no time, he would be on a plane alone, going to an unfamiliar place where he hardly knew the language. Seeing these broken, messy things around him was symbolic in a way, nowhere near perfect. There was a certain sense of belonging, a strange warmth that Arden was noticing more and more. As many nerves as leaving gave him, it still felt better than staying at that house and watching idly as more of his world crashed around him. This felt better, a fresh start, a path where it finally felt like he was doing something worthwhile instead of screwing everything up. The journey getting there was hard enough, with just his friends and family's issues. The part that concerned Arden the most, or rather, what demanded his focus, was when he closed his eyes. Since getting his mark from Jazia, it was almost like Arden could feel it inside of himself, rather than just on the surface of his skin. It was like a silent urge, pushing him when he did certain things. It was hard to explain to even himself. The prickles left on Arden's skin, and the nights where he could hear a quiet whispering were real enough that Arden knew something had changed, or rather, intensified. If he was quiet and listened close enough, he'd just about make out the words spoken to him. A buzz of ache went through his head as this happened. His ears and brain tried hard to focus in on the hushed tones and unintelligible murmuring that kept him up. It was like walking a thin line of hearing words, at the same time not being able to string together a sentence. The whole experience was unnerving. Most times, he would try to drown it out with just about any other sound rather than try to focus on it. Either way it went, it befuddled his brain. Arden didn't worry much about it. It was uncomfortable, daunting, but he convinced himself it was only preparing him for the journey ahead. And even if he gave in to the uneasy he felt, there wasn't much he could do about it now, was it?